HP. Thinkers are great, but doers change the world.
The most innovative sports facilities cultivate a common experience by putting the focus on the way fans interact with the game, with the players, with the building, and even with each other. The new stadiums are under construction around the world to showcase some of the biggest sporting events of the next decade, including the 2012 Olympics in London and World Cup competitions in South Africa and Brazil. Now, they are all being built by just one company, the same folks that built this ballpark here, Populous, a Kansas City-based firm that leads the charge in innovative stadium design. London's new Olympic complex rises on a 560-acre site in a rundown industrial area on the east side of town.
One of the big moves when we were bidding for the Olympics was to really use the Olympics as a vehicle for regeneration and positioning the primary Olympic park in East London, an area that has been socially deprived for decades.
3 of those 4.
Populous Senior Principal Chris Lee leads a team of architects and engineers tackling design challenges like that of a one-time home for a huge event like the Olympics.
The idea of really approaching the building in its afterlife right from the beginning is really the innovative move for London. So to produce a building that's perfectly tailored for post-Olympic use and ensuring that London isn't left with a white elephant.
From the earliest stages on the drafting table, the architects conceived of the structure as modular, with pieces that could be taken apart after the 2-week games and reused elsewhere.
And one of the ideas is that we would have kids from local schools or kids from schools all over the country decorate them, and then those pods may well go back to the school or different places around the country and have a little bit of the London Olympics in their local town or their local school.
Post-Olympics, the innovative design also calls for shrinking of the stadium from 80,000 seats down to 25,000 for local, smaller-scale sporting events.
But also post-Olympics, the plan is obviously the park to become really a park, so it becomes huge public open space, which is sadly lacking in East London. So it becomes almost the size of Central Park here in New York, a great kind of recreational leisure activity for everyone in East London.
Populous started out as a subsidiary of HOK, one of the world's leading design firms. Over more than a quarter century, that group has produced some of the most recognizable buildings on the planet. The 2000 Olympic Stadium in Sydney, the New York Yankees Stadium, and the Nanjing Sports Park in China.
In the beginning, there were 4 of us who decided that working in architecture, designing sports facilities was something we enjoyed. We had a goal of getting to 24 people and would have considered that a wonderful thing. Now we're 400 globally and offices throughout the U.S. and Europe and Asia.
In 2008, the principals organized a spin-off and rebranded the company as Populous.
The important thing for us in that management buyout was that we could devolve the ownership of the company from what was previously a large corporate ownership down through all levels of our staff. So we're really an employee-owned company, and that's very important for our future.
In an era of high-profile starchitects like Frank Gehry and Santiago Calatrava, Populous has nurtured an ensemble cast of innovators. The team's creative, cutting-edge approach has its roots in old-fashioned ideas about building community, both inside and outside the stadium, which took some creative thinking in Minneapolis, where Populous has just completed Target Plaza, the new home of the Minnesota Twins.
So we had to build a stadium in downtown Minneapolis in a spot where people didn't know where it even was, and then somehow connect that parking lot to the core of downtown Minneapolis down here.
The tight urban setting challenged the team to reconceive its notion of space.
We built an 11-acre building, but we built it on an 8-acre site. It's kind of levered out on the northwest side of a railroad track. We're cantilevered out on the southeast side of a freeway. We're tucked underneath bridges on both sides.
The Twins' management sees innovative design as a business investment. Forbes projects the stadium will increase the team's revenue by $30 million in 2010, and execs hope it will also change the way players think about themselves, maybe even turn them into champions.
it also puts the Minnesota Twins in a much better position as a business to retain the players that we work so hard to scout, to draft, to develop in our minor league system. And ultimately it puts us in a spot where we think we can keep those core players together, that nucleus, over time, and hopefully compete for a world championship.
One trademark Populous touch is Gate 34. Named for Twin great Kirby Puckett, it's a throwback to a bygone time in baseball history.
Unlike other ballparks where you really can't see anything until you get your ticket and go through the turnstile and walk in, anybody who can find their way to 6th Street in downtown Minneapolis can walk right up to the front door of Target Field and take a look in. That's pretty cool.
From tiny details to the structure itself, the firm strives to combine style with substance, with top-notch engineering. The goal is to find innovative solutions to tough problems, like the hot weather in the Brazilian seaside town of Natal. A host city of the 2014 World Cup, it's near the equator and temperatures hover above 90 degrees all year round.
So the interesting thing about Natal is that it's split into these 20 different petals. We put everything on the west side so we could catch this immense onshore breeze and everyone was cooled through the building. The splitting into petals let us do two things. One was allow that air movement in through and between the petals and cool everyone in the seating bowl and within the concourses. But also then to take out that height difference of about 9 meters higher on this side than this side. So as you move from petal to petal, all of the stands step down, taking out that difference. But then produces you within a kind of, you're in a petal with about 800 people in each of the petals. So you feel that you're part of a smaller group, but all driven very much by function.
All over the world, Populous is building stadiums tailored to the local culture and setting. Up next, we'll give you a taste of New York here at Citi Field, and then we'll head to South Africa for an inside look at one of the highest profile projects the company has ever taken on.